because federally, Afros are the only thing that are protected. And so if we continue as states to pass these things federally, I think, we'll have more traction to protect us nationally. So as far as the South goes, we're really trying to do our due diligence. We're really trying to get these electors, these elected officials to come on our side. It's a little bit more difficult, but we're up for the challenge, and we're working hard for it over here in the South.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Heather. That kind of illuminates, another facet of the conversation and the issue. I think that it's so interesting for us because we are in New Mexico, right? Like we having this conversation in a place like Georgia, where I have family, in Louisiana, Mississippi, where those Black populations are, huge Black populations, whereas out here, we represent 2%, if that, of the population. But it's also different and a very intricate thing because we're in this place where there's lots of people of color, but there's not a lot of Black people, right? And so that creates this different kind of landscape and this different type of, environment socially where we have these, people, so many people of color, we have all of this terminology like tricultural state and all these things.
What the hell we're trying to get. Can you censor me?
Yes, I got you.
So sorry.
It's
but
all
that's
good.
What we in the COC have been talking about. I know Deb can speak to that. I know Heather can speak to that. We got really, because as you're on that topic, it brings me to how the Crown Act on October 20th, the New Mexico Crown Act, we had 5 amazing women sit with our now Secretary of the Interior, Deb Haaland. She gave us a town hall to discuss what it is that we go through. And the best thing that happened was at the top of the call, and anybody that watched this, specifically Deb, because you was there, remember when she said, because again, like you're saying, there's a minority majority here, but Black folks don't get considered. And I don't think that people understand that you can't say people of color, because often you can, but it doesn't apply to us. People have made this point not apply to us. And when you say women of color, it doesn't apply to Black women,
Right.
But the best thing that happened at the top of that call was when she said, I want to talk about this because I don't have that problem. My hair grows straight. She was like, it's so huge because people were initially trying to make it seem as if we were going to have an issue or conflicting problems with our Indigenous relatives. And that didn't happen. We had the utmost support, and
that's beautiful.
And that call was so dope just because, first of all, Deb, Dr. Means, Monet Archibald, Asia Brooks shut that down, okay? It was the highlight of fall, okay? Let's just be clear. And we got a whole hour with her, and we got to talk about we have to get away from the tri-ethnic state. We have to get away from, there has to be a space where Black folks can say, this is what we're doing for ours. And, coming from that Black femme theory of when you center Black women, everybody wins from margin to center, right?
Wow. Yes. I 100%. Go for it, Deb.
What we've learned or what we've recognized and called out is that when you're in New Mexico, when we say people of color, it actually creates a huge erasure of Black people and Black women specifically, because when you're saying people of color, automatically in New Mexico, people think Hispanic or, indigenous people, but they're never talking specifically about Black people. They lump us in and then completely forget us and erase us. And so that's why this legislation is so important, because it centers us, and it's saying, hey, we're here. We as Black people, as Black women, we are here and we are important, and y'all are going to see us and you're going to hear us, whether you want to or not. And so I think this legislation is important on that level. And there's other things that need to happen. This is the first step in a step of many that need to happen for Black people to be seen and heard in New.
100%. I think it's so important too, because there's just, like you were mentioning earlier, Erica, there's so many intersections and there's so many ways that this issue impacts other facets of our lives, and other social issues like, jobs. I mean, if there is a mechanism, if there is that implicit bias and all of this that we're having to overcome, how are we getting jobs at the same rate? How is that equal? You know what I mean? If there's that discrimination there, how are our children getting the level of education that they're supposed to get if they're being suspended, if they're being picked on, and they're having to deal with the emotional trauma that comes with the lack of acceptance and protections in these instances? It just impacts so many aspects of society and so many different issues that it intersects with. So I think that, I just wanted to put that out there, because I think that for, if I'm listening from someone else's perspective, a non-Black person, and I'm saying, well, it's just hair. You know what I mean? I think there's some people, unfortunately, that will hear this and hear that, and it's just like, oh, it always has to be about race and it has to be about that, not understanding the wide-reaching implications and impact that an issue like this has on not just us. Because if you have a group of people that's, being discriminated against and being held back and marginalized, then really everybody loses. And I think that's I hope that we're coming into understanding that as a society, on a larger level, that if we make it so that everybody is heard, seen, respected, loved, and cared for, everybody wins. Period. Boo. Period.
I thought of what you said about how mentally in schools, when you're being discriminated against, you're not getting that full education. Mm-hmm. I think that's so true, because now I go to online school. Mm-hmm. Well, of course, everybody's pretty much online now. But I switched completely to an online school because mentally I couldn't take going to school, and I'd been there for a couple years at that specific school. And I was doing everything I could. I was working with superintendents. I was trying to make change. But when you're in that mindset, you're debilitated. And I think that in this form, when you have people who can step up, and when you have older people do this for you, and have people who are in this space and they can help make that change, this is so amazing. Because when you're in there, it's like, nobody's listening to me. Nobody can help me. And they gaslight you so much for everything you want to change. Even if it's, well, this person called me the N-word. What did you say to them? I'm like, what did you mean?
It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And they completely gaslight you until you don't know what you don't think you can make change. And so your mind is like, well, I can at least do this, but you don't even know how far you can go when you're in school, when you're in that school and everybody's gaslighting you. I know once I got to online school, I ran off and was like doing different things. But when I was in there, I was like, well, I can try and do this. I just didn't know how far you could go. And I think, and when you're in school, that's what it does. And not even talking about how it affects your education. Because while you're in there, you're like, oh, I'm fine. I'm still making good grades. But like, at what cost are you doing that?
At what cost?
I'm pissed about Rona that I can't hug people. I can't just go and love on people. But what you're saying is so true, Kelsey. You cannot try to, you can't, how do you make impactful change when you're actually being harmed? And when you're being traumatized? And we have our co-chair of La Cueva BSU, Kiana Sanchez, on the call, who also can speak to that too. Very literally from like, and again, it takes that covering. And New Mexico, I can't say enough how inherently grateful I am that the Central Organizing Committee is this intergenerational space of Black women, that we cover our student leaders. We're always like, hey, baby, shout out to art. Like, it's Sag season. Happy birthday to the crew. And like, like, oh my gosh, P.S., wonderful job, so-and-so. And like, it is, and I hope that my hope is, and it feels this way in confirmation from hearing from you, Kelsey, that you need to be able to focus, because you already stick out. We already stick out no matter what group we're in. And so, and so having us be able to block for you so that you can concentrate and make these moves for you. That's one of the things we've been telling our accomplices and we call our accomplices a seat at the table, our non-Black supporters of this policy. We also have so much joy in our crowns. We have a whole Google form going that I'll get out to you guys. Shout out to Nicole Rogers. She made a Google form that we're talking about the glory of our crowns to Karen level discriminations that we've endured. But what people don't understand is the rite of passage that you feel getting your hair braided for the first time. What you feel when you are walking around and you just start, no one should watch this. I shouldn't even say this, but Big Mouth had a really good season this year. Missy found the right braids, and they had a whole song that was on point about code switching and how we have to present. And so for our baby, when I call y'all babies, it's from the bottom of my heart. It's not on no.
That's the mama.
It's me and mom, but like, yeah, when we can block for our babies and let them take up all the space that they've been told they cannot take up, it means something. Kiana, do you mind sharing your story and what La Cueva has turned into, like, for you all?
La Cueva is predominantly a white school, and so I think this year we restarted the BSU up again, but I think if it weren't for online, I don't think we would have had as much space to restart the BSU like we did. The attitude at La Cueva for me my first year was I had a trouble in a couple of classes, and their idea was just to pass me through, not even get me like, a good grade. They're like, well, as long as you just pass, you're good. And my mom was like, she's not getting any D's. Like, we need to fix this. And they're like, it's fine if she gets D's as long as they're like, just get me through. So they're either get me through, or a lot of my friends that were of color, they ended up dropping out and moving to online school. And I think that was like part of their system.
Part of their system to just kind of like move you out of the way in a sense.
because
Wow.
they're like top school, their graduation rates are high. And I'll tell you why they're high, because they let kids that aren't so good at school just float through the wind or just drop out.
Mm. Wow. And I mean, that's something. And Heather, I want to get to you because I saw you kind of had your hand up, but I think that that's something that is crazy to me, that it's just like, even on the level of high school, you know, you have people dismissing you and pushing you out of certain spaces where you have every right to be, and you have every right to be in that space 100% as yourself. So I think it takes a very brave, young person to stand up to that, because you said it's a system. And as we know, I mean, LaQuava's been around for a minute, and once those systems, and that status quo, that's when we start seeing all the hatred and the vitriol and the attacks, right? When we start talking about accountability and we start putting the spotlight on systems and on protocols and things like that are problematic and that are discriminatory, that's when you get that pushback. So I think kudos to you, Kiana, Kelsey, Augustine, as students, for pushing back against those deeply rooted systems. And it makes me hurt that our youth have to take this on. They've taken on adults. They're taking on adults in this that are, employing these systems. Heather, I wanted to circle back around to you. I know you had something to add.
Yes. And thank you, students. Your stories resonate with me so much, because whenever I was in college, which this was before Rona, this is years back, but I was forced out. I mean, I got good grades and everything like that. I was a sociology major, but the gaslighting that went on, even with teachers of sociology, you would think in your race and ethnic relations class that you wouldn't feel the type of way that they make you feel, like an outsider, like you're not, worthy enough to be there, or center you in situations where you shouldn't be centered, putting you on the spotlight. And so because of all of the discrimination that I, had and I went through during during about 2 to 2.5 years of college, I just said, I'm just going to do online. I'm just going to do online. I'm just going to do everything so that I don't have to interact with these people, because it's making me feel like college isn't the thing for me. I didn't really have a lot of resources, and going against, a young person going against, colleges. I'm talking to deans, I'm talking to professors, and they're kind of pushing me out the door like they did with you all. So I'm happy that we are kind of getting a hold of this. And I applaud you, young people, because you did a lot more than I did, and at even the college level. So I applaud you. And I really think that our youth is going to be the thing that saves us and that pushes us and drives us to, become better and to have more protections and to become, just a better society in total, because you guys are seriously like some of the strongest kids I've ever seen, and some of the most inspirational children and, young youth that I've ever seen in my life. And I am so happy that we have come together and that we can, inspire change throughout the state. And this is only the first thing that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing a lot more things that protect our people. And I'm very excited about the work we're doing. But I do want to thank you, you all, for being such strong, minded and, lovable, and, caring about other people. It's just amazing.
100%. I second that. And I think that it's so important too, just to, just touch on something real quick that I think that we cannot fail to mention. I mean, a lot of times, the conversation ends up on focused on Black women because we, bear the brunt of it just because of the nature of, how we're doing our hair. But for someone like, Devin, that's what I love about Devin. He's just like, you know what? I'm gonna wait because I'm gonna bring you into this because I think that Black men face a type of discrimination that's like they're just demonized in a different way than us. It's not about who's more or less or anything. It's just a different way because they're seen as like dangerous. And so that's what, we have to deal with, where we see Black men losing their lives in a lot of these situations. We see these videos because of, the stigmas that are attached to, locks, twists, anything like that. Natural hair that a man is wearing can be threatening, not threatening in a way of like, oh, you're doing too much, you're outshining me, you need to stay in your place, young Black lady, that type thing, in a way that is they feel threatened because of what they attach to males wearing their natural hair, and it causes us to lose our Black men. You know what I mean? So I think we can't gloss over that. Devin, you want to speak to that for just a second? I mean, wearing your natural hair and how that's, impacted you, as a youth and in the workplace?
Yeah, definitely. And for me, I had a lot of this type of discrimination, specifically dealing with sports, because that's where I had most of my focus and presence. But essentially, when it came to just hairstyles and presence, like I always would be fearful of having the cops called on me when I'm in certain spaces, because when I was in high school, I was in a lot of those non-Black spaces. And so having the cops called on me, or going to the principal's office, or even when it came to being on the court, I'm having my coach saying, oh, your hair is too this or too that. You need to cut it just so you can be like everybody else on the team. And even when it came to when I was doing my master's, I was working on some research, specifically dealing with mentorship for Black student athletes coming out of oversight organization or through cultural centers. And when I was doing my research, I went to present at the CSRI in South Carolina. And during that time, being in South Carolina, I was scared for my life, just the looks that I was getting from people driving in their cars or walking around. And it wasn't as bad being at the conference, but outside the conference, it was definitely uncomfortable. But coming back from the conference, I was at the airport, and it was one of the first times I was actually able to get on the airplane first. And during that time, I get stopped by the law enforcement that's working in the airports. And I'm in a place that I haven't been before. I'm by myself going back home, and they're like, hey, you look a little bit suspicious. What's going on? Are you okay? They're asking me where I'm going, where I'm coming from. Why am I here? When is my flight leaving? All these different intrusive questions that, there's a lot of other people who probably were doing some of the same stuff that I was. But because I'm a big Black man who's wearing dreads, I'm a threat to a lot of people, or a lot of people are uncomfortable when I'm in certain spaces, or a lot of people think that, I shouldn't be in certain spaces because of how I look or my hairstyle. And there are some other stories, but I feel like that's the biggest one when it comes to me seeming like a threat. And again, when it comes like in Albuquerque, a lot more people know me, but when I go to Dallas, when I go to Vegas, when I go to California, all these different places, I'm always scared for my life. I got to be careful about what colors that I wear when I'm out in certain spaces, just because I don't want to seem like I'm affiliated with a gang. And it's all these different aspects that I have to really actively think about just to make sure that I'm protected and not thrown in jail or not killed in any type of way.
Yeah, I mean, and that all goes back to, the burden that's placed on us, Erica.
I just wanted to say, Devin is a gentle giant, okay?
My goodness.
That's okay. And like, cause it hurts me. Like I got a chance to really get to know Devin about a year ago, and his heart for young people, like it just hurts me to know that I know this person, and like many of you getting to know all of you, I feel so deeply for each of you, and to listen to these things. Like I know his heart for young leaders. I know his heart for sports. I know his heart for coaching, like just in like watching the way that OAAA has brought him on to organize in that capacity for specifically young men. He single-handedly, alongside who I call Auntie Bev, Miss Bev Jordan.
Beverly Jordan.
Everybody's Auntie.
Hey, Miss Beverly.
Hi, Auntie. But the way that like he was able to take Vibes, the Young Male Summit, was the first Young Male Summit for Black American APS students. And so to hear that this gentle giant, because when Devin gets up, he's also like 6'5"? I don't even know.
6'9".
Like, bro, like, duck when you come through the door, sir, because I don't know, like, if the beam's gonna make it, but whatever. But like, he's this gentle giant, and to know that you go through these things, and to know that it's not lost on so many other people with the same dichotomy and story, like. This is where these changes have to happen. And again, we do say center Black women, but please know the Black women in this space, we bout that life when it comes to our men and our children. Like and I don't mean to, these knuckle tattoos, you can catch these on it. But I mean, I'm working on me. I'm working on me. But but in the same time, at the same time, I love, it's the work that you have to do to just simply, I can imagine, and I hate to say it in this way, but because of the relations in the heightened society we are in, who and where would we be if, because like mediocrity, and we don't have to do this today, that's another call. Mediocrity prevails with white students, the way that mediocrity prevails with white professionals. You have literally, and this is for everybody on this call, we have some amazing genius minds in this space right now. And to know that conversation and that light is deflected because of our skin, and because of the way our hair grows out of our head, and because of, just the way that things have been set up in this country. It sucks, but it's the way we're taking that narrative back is through the Crown Act.
Absolutely. And I think that this is just so pivotal and so important. I can't even find the words to attach to how much gravity this has for us. I mean, I don't want not another person to feel how I felt when, you know, I was in 6th grade and I had my hair natural up until, you know, I was 11, and I begged for a perm. I begged. My mama said, no, Dano, you leave your hair. Like, trust me, leave it. Like, it's fine. But there was nothing that she could say to comfort me. And to my mama, my own mama, there was nothing that she could say to me to comfort me and to help me to realize my own beauty and my own power that was in my crown. And I get emotional because I want not another person to feel like they have to straighten their hair, to feel accepted, to feel beautiful, to feel like they can move in this world freely and accomplish the things that they want to accomplish and dominate the spaces that they want to dominate, and to just do all the things that their hearts desire. And there was moments, because of how people treated me, because of my hair, the comments they made, the incessant questioning, and all of the things that we're discussing on this call today, that broke my heart, literally. And we're still mending that. And I want not another youth, not another person to feel that feeling of not being good enough, of not being able to show up just as beautiful and as powerful as you are. So
I love that.
Yes.
The COC, please.
I'm for it. Like, look, I am here for it 100%, because I think that, you know, this is how it happens. You know, yes, we're all talking about these very painful stories and memories and experiences, but that pain, it only fuels our passion and our resolve to create this change and push it forward by any means necessary. And I think that, you know, it's going to take our youth voices. It's going to take that generational collaboration that we mentioned earlier. And it's going to take us, you know, just you know, all pain and all, trauma and all, you know, coming into our voices and using our voices. It takes our allies, you know, our non-Black, you know, siblings to step up as well. So, you know, I just want to really quick, because I know we're coming up on the hour and everything. I feel like we should say something, you know, to folks, to our Black people, and also to our allies. How can people best, maybe everybody kind of chime in a little bit, how can people best support these efforts, whether it's on like a personal level and shifting your own personal paradigm and how you know, interact with Black folks and their hair and things like that, or on getting involved on a legislative level or a community organizational level. Does anyone have any, like, just quick, succinct, powerful words of advice for people on either sides of that?
I see Deb's eyebrows raised and she's breathing deep. Go ahead.
Go, Deb.
You know how I am. That might not have been a good idea. I think that the one thing that I always go to is that people need to really be about that life. Like, if you're going to say you're an ally, be an ally in spaces that are uncomfortable. Don't be an ally online when you're behind the keyboard. If you see a Black person in peril or in the workplace being discriminated against for their hairstyle or whatever, be an ally. Because if you're going to say you're an ally because it looks good on the internet, you're not helping anyone, and you're certainly not helping us. So either be about that life or sit down and shut up.
Mm.
Yeah, then also adding to that, when you're an ally and there's no Black voices in the room when something's going on, you have to be that voice. You have to be the one to stand up and say something about it. Because like Deb was saying, you can't just say it online and it's going to work. You have to be that voice in spaces where there are no Black people and things are going down. You have to step up and be that voice.
And that's on Boo, Mary Had a Little Lamb. I know you've seen Where the Money Resides, but yes, like performative allyship will not be tolerated. That's not where we are. Does anybody else want to say something before I plug the Gmail?
I would say call, email your electors, call any officials, push this as much as you can, because the more and more they hear it, the more they can't ignore it, and they have to, like listen to what you have to say. So the more people that we have calling your senators, calling your legislators, calling your representatives, calling your city council, and the more they hear our stories, and the more information they get, the better. So I would say that's something that's pretty powerful that you could do, especially during these times of not being online all the time and things like that. Like those are things that you can do from your home that could really impact the Crown.
Absolutely. Kiana, really quick, just because we haven't heard from you too much, what do you have, what words of support, encouragement do you have for other students who may have faced the issues that you've faced, in school as a student? What do you have to say to them who may be struggling?
I just want to say that their feelings are very valid. It doesn't matter what any adult in the office says about a person calling them the N-word or a teacher just being straight up racist. I want them to say that they're not being sensitive, that their feelings are incredibly valid, and they should always listen to how they feel and not let anybody affect that, even though it can get hard sometimes.
100. That's beautiful. And I'm sending y'all so much love. Everybody on this call, I think that it just speaks volumes about us, because we talk about, the struggles and the issues that we face, and that's present for who knows how long. We're going to be going through this, and we're going to be in this fight. But there's so much beauty in us as a people, and there's so much fight in us, and there's so much passion and so much resilience. There's so many things that are beautiful, and I never want to forget to celebrate that as well. And I mean, this call in and of itself is a testament to all of that, to all of the courage, to all of the sleepless nights and the research and the putting ourselves in uncomfortable spaces, because at the end of the day, we're human. There's something about this melanin that's superhuman, but at the end of the day, we have these feelings, it takes a lot of courage to put yourself, being a part of the committee as all of you are. Augustine, it takes courage, because it's people that, why are you doing that? Like, why is that your cause? Like, that's not about you. That's not for you. I'm sure, that can be difficult in a way, but I'm just so proud, and it really uplifts my whole spirit and my whole heart to get on this call with all these beautiful spirits and powerful voices. And Devin, thank you. And, to the Office of African American Affairs for creating this platform and this space for us. It's so beautiful.
Yeah, and thank you all again. I know this is a big marathon that you all especially are running, but all Black people and all allies are running. And so I appreciate you all on this call being at the forefront and really taking the initiative and taking the time, energy, and effort, even going into your personal lives to do everything that you've done and you will continue to do in order to fight for the rights of Black people and, the allies of Black people to have respect, have that equity, and have that backing in all the different spaces where at the end of the day, like Danny was saying, we're all human. And so we all need to be treated like humans in certain spaces. And when one group isn't treated as humans, there's a big issue. And so being able to, again, have the efforts that you've done in order to address this issue along with some of the other stuff, I really appreciate it.
Yes, I want you, Erica, or whoever, I want to, if you can speak to how and where people can go to get all the information to get involved and support the cause.
Please email crownnecknewmexico@gmail. It's all spelled out. crownnecknewmexico, one word, at gmail.com. We meet usually about twice a week. Right now, we're on break just like everybody else is. We deserve a break. We deserve some semblance of rest. So we will reconvene at the top of the year. We've had some really beautiful, we have had some really beautiful opportunities. This is serious and he can't be trusted on the floor. But he can't be trusted. But we have some really beautiful opportunities with a lot of virtual lobbying coming up that I've shared with our COC space. We do have a seat at the table meeting that will convene at the top of the year before session. We're really, shout out to our bill sponsors, Representative Cheryl Williams Stapleton, who will run it in the House, to Councilwoman Lansana at CABQ. We actually have an ordinance coming forth at the top of the year as well. He co-signs. And also
he's like, yay, Crown Neck. Yes.
He celebrates. But yeah, so thank you, Councilwoman Lansana, for making this one of the first pieces, one of her, this is her first year and her freshman year, if you will, and this is one of the first pieces of legislation pieces of work she's bringing forth for the city. So we're grateful to that, to our COC, to our attorneys within the COC. We love y'all so much. Everybody in our COC, we love you guys so much. The work that we've been putting forward, this is true community effort. Which I'm grateful for. But yeah, to our bill sponsors, Rep. Cheryl Williams Stapleton, you're not getting down. Senator Antoinette Sedillo Lopez, and with Linda Lopez. We're really excited that we have such powerhouses that said, yeah, we'll block for you and we'll make a way. Because the other thing I want to add is we're not a monolith. For instance, Sirius, we are Harry Potter nerds in this house, y'all. This is Sirius Severus Lupin Black, okay? But we're not a monolith, and we are breaking barriers just by having that space. Please reach out to us, crownnecknewmexico@gmail.com.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And Dev, we will put... Devin will put, Devin will link all this information on the site. You want to give the OAAA website before we go out?
Yeah, so you can reach and have all this information on oaaa.state.nm.us, and we'll make sure to get all the links just so you can know how to get involved, how to get more informed, and all the other things that come with it.
Yes. Well, I guess that wraps us. Thank you to all of the beautiful souls on this call today. Thank y'all for sharing space and getting a little, vulnerable with us. And thank you for all of the work that you're doing. Once again, support us. Like, follow, share, Reeducated, the podcast. And congratulations, Devin. This wraps our season. I don't know if y'all know, but this is our season finale. So y'all are a part of that, which is very special. So thank you to everybody for listening, supporting Reeducated. We could not do this without all of you. So thank you so much. And I hope we can share space again very, very soon.
We love you. Thank you, guys.
Yes, all the love.
You.
We'll be in touch. And I'm serious. I do wanna get involved. For sure. Well, we'll see y'all later. Okay.
Yeah, y'all have a good one. Thank you again.
Much love and wholeness.
Reeducated, brought to you by the New Mexico State Office of African American Affairs, aimed to study, identify, and provide change by means of support, advocacy, and resources relevant to the African American community. As a reminder, every voice matters. Make sure you're counted in the 2020 census. The Office of Equity and Inclusion was established by Mayor Tim Keller in 2018. The vision of the office is to inspire and equip city governments to make Albuquerque a national role model of racial equity and social justice. The office is responsible for dismantling systemic barriers to achieve racial, gender, health, and socioeconomic equality. Michelle Melendez is the inaugural director of the Office of Equity and Inclusion. In September, Melendez was instrumental in passing R-2075, legislation that strengthens and reaffirms the city's commitment to addressing racial equity and social justice. The resolution calls on the city to support the startup and growth of businesses owned by people of color, women, racial equity assessments for the city department, and requires equity training for the city council, leadership, and administration.
Our very last segment is The Glow, where we'll be highlighting individuals and organizations doing great work in our community.
For this edition of The Glow, we'd like to highlight the COC for the phenomenal work that they've been doing, providing insight on the Crown Act in New Mexico. To support the Crown Act, you can email them at crownactnewmexico@gmail.com. For additional information, you can go to oaa.state.mm.us.
We'd also like to give a special thank you to our post-production partner, Better Sense. Powered by nearly a decade of audio and production experience, Better Sense exists to help you create your life-changing projects. Go to bttrsnc.com in order to explore how you can awaken the potential of your musical ideas. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Reeducated. We hope you were able to rethink, relearn, and get reeducated on some really important topics. Make sure to visit us at our website, oaaa.state.nm.us. See you next time.